Hello, everyone. My name is Oluwatoyin Ajiore from Nigeria, and I'm presenting on the paper African Education and Critical Thinking. The paper is co-authored by myself and the late Dr. Namani Magao. This is our outline. We're going to be talking about introduction, the time to rekindle the Piaget lights, emerging development from Africa, and recommendation stroke request. I'd like to pay tribute to my co-author, late Dr. Namani Magao, who we lost on the 20th of May, 2022, just a few hours after we had a meeting concerning this paper. She's in South Africa, she was in Johannesburg, and we got a message the following day that we lost her. And really, I'm both sorrowful and glad. Sorrowful that I lost her, glad that we are even able to do this in honor of her. The goal really is to, first of all, show that the need to promote models of education that enable critical thinking is a developmental issue. That means we need to promote models of education as a way of development. Second is the fact that for a sustainable future, human development is at the core of it, and envisioning and creating new knowledge is at the core of human development. And this is very strategic for Africa, especially now that we are talking about the African Union Agenda 2063, which is called the African Union. The emphasis is really the need to prioritize the understanding, of where the learner is coming from, what they are thinking, and how they are making meaning.
With experiences and knowledge in African context, scholars were looking into how to promote teaching in science and maths, and they identified that there were barriers. The teaching did not connect with the local context, with the thinking, with the knowledge, and that when they found that connection, then the barriers were removed and better performance was achieved. So we are advocating that at this time when Africa would like to promote a much more peaceful, prosperous continent where Africans trust their thinking, knowledge, and experiences, that the light of Piaget has got a place in this.
That was a clip from our last meeting. Now I'm going to be talking about education and critical thinking. I've shown that critical thinking is not something that happens automatically. It has to be developed by rigorous exercise. And the interesting thing is that even though it has been acknowledged as an essential learning outcome of education, education automatically doesn't produce critical thinking. And this has been validated by research. Two researches that we're going to be talking about here. The first is research by Arum and Roska in 2011, who studied about 3,000 students in 29 four-year colleges in the United States. Less than 45% of them showed sign of not increasing any of their critical skills, competencies, even after 2 years of college. And another study that was done by Rowe et al. In 2015, they designed a normal general education class and a special general education class that was aimed at critical thinking. And they found out that the people in the special class developed more critical thinking than the people in the general class. How does this affect African education? The first thing to understand is education in Africa is fraught with several challenges. We have so many challenges, from teachers training, poor infrastructure, poor financing. But we are arguing that the need to promote, to enable critical thinking and the ability to create new knowledge is one of the most critical, most urgent part of the challenges that African education is facing. First is the fact that Africa is a growing economy. There's growing economic opportunities in Africa, and this lays demand on a better developed human capital, and by which I already believe that we know that education play a most important role as a major supplier of the human capital development. And the second is the fact that the world itself is becoming increasingly that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And so it really needs innovators and solution providers. Some of the challenges that we found that is facing critical thinking in development in African education include our cultural beliefs, our education infrastructure constraint, teacher training issues, negative self-concept, gender dispositions, and more. Now, let's talk a little bit more about what critical thinking is supposed to look like when you see it. There are researchers that have established particular cognitive processes that show critical thinking, things like knowledge, interpretation, application, analysis, ability to infer, ability to evaluate. But we are arguing that the real goal we should focus on for critical thinking should be the ability to unleash the capacity of the learner's mind to be able to explore, not just to be able to know or analyze something else, but to be able to unleash their own mind to co-create knowledge, even with existing knowledge. Critical exploration is really critical in helping to develop this kind of, this kind of learner mind exploration that we are desiring to see in African education. We believe that because critical exploration prioritizes understanding where the learner is coming from, what they are thinking, how they are making meaning, and their process of understanding. We believe critical exploration involves helping students to stimulate and explore their thinking of the subject matter to the generation of their own wonderful ideas. It radicalizes teaching and learning into an experience that is focused on making new, independent meaning and connections about knowledge. Our concern is simple. What will African education look like if the learner's experience are valued, if pre-existing knowledge are sought, and if new meanings are made? We have seen evidences of an emerging development of this kind of education we're talking about in Africa. We found 4 case studies, one in South Africa, one in Nigeria, one in Namibia, and one in Ghana. We're going to be focusing on the one in South Africa and the one in Nigeria for the reason of time, and also because these 2 case studies are the ones that the authors of this paper are directly involved in. First, in Nigeria. I am a Nigerian. I'm a university educator in Nigeria. I teach geosciences students, mostly between the 2nd and the 3rd year of geosciences. And in one of my courses called Geology 222, it's called Introduction to Petrology, where I was supposed to cover the basics of igneous rocks and how they are formed and all of that. That was my own part of the course. I utilized this critical exploration methodology that emphasized participatory knowledge creation between learners and students. In a particular case study where I was supposed to teach them about igneous rocks, about classifying igneous rocks to be specific. This was a virtual class because it was done during the COVID-19 pandemic, so it couldn't be physical. What I did was to put this, instead of teaching the students the existing classification schema that already existed, what I did was to put the students in contact with the subject matter virtually because the class had to be virtual. So I brought pictures like you're seeing on this screen. Exactly this was what was on their screen. And I told them these were all in your shop. They already know. And I told them to note the differences. I told them, what do you notice is the difference? Some of them said they noticed the colors were different. Some said they noticed the sizes look different, the grain sizes look different, and so many answers. And then I told them to use some of these things. I told them to list down the differences that they note and then try to bring some of these elements into groups of similar things, things that look similar, maybe they look physical, they all look chemical, things like that, and use it to create a classification schema for the igneous rock. The interesting thing that I found at the end of the class that day was that they were able to come up with a classification schema that was very similar to what I would have thought. That I sustained this methodology of critical thinking, of this question and answer, encouraging their thinking throughout the course, helping them to really dig down into what they know. And at the end of the course, I took a survey among the 58 students that I taught in that course. 87.9% of them reported that the methodology greatly incited their further interest in the field. It made them become reflective of their existing knowledge. 86.2% reported that the methodology really helped them to comprehend the course. 56.9% of them said that it helped them deal much better with confusion because they know they had to think through these things themselves. They had to wade through confusion to get some of the answers they came up with. When they were asked about what they enjoyed the most about the classes, in their own words, 66% of them made direct or indirect reference to the fact that they had to construct their own knowledge through critical question and answer. One of the students wrote something, and I quote, he said, "I discovered that I already knew about some of the aspects of the course from everyday experience." This is a technical example of how we can try out this kind of education that encourage students to think, to make sense of what they are thinking about, to make sense of pre-existing understanding, and to make meaning by themselves.
For her thesis, she taught a seminar home in South Africa to a group of teachers. The title was Looking at Learning to Understand Teaching, a South African Case Study. But she writes, the seminar took place just before the end of apartheid, and the teachers' responses speak to the potential of this work in situations where inquiry has been restrained. I find it still enormously relevant within the context of the continuous challenges of change that we face in South Africa. It traces the experience of one of the teachers. At the very first session, this teacher had some new thoughts. She wrote, it showed me that people operate at different levels and have different rights of departure. Nemani says it was a comment on her unexpected insights she gained during her investigations, a new awareness that what she believes she knows with certainty could be perceived differently by others. In her closing interview, quotes the teacher as saying, we live in South Africa with the apartheid system. I'd never thought of education as something that's not only around you, but as something that is within you. At the end of the day now, we will be having children who know the power that is within them, the power of knowing that they can change themselves and in the process, change their world. When you think that power is outside you, then there is a very strong chance that you will think that there are many odds against you. But when you think the power is within you, then it's another issue. This was Nemani's student. This is what Nemani taught.
In conclusion, we understand that although the African context of education poses peculiar challenges, nurturing learners' exploration is not an impossible goal. We are of the opinion that it's time to strengthen this system, something that is done together as a body in a network and take forward the vision that is being expounded by the African leaders. We believe that the inspiring footprint of Piaget and critical exploration from Elinor Dogo can help provide a light for the sustainable future shaped by thinking within and outside the continent. In light of this, we made 3 recommendations. We believe that we need to promote more collaboration and research between critical exploration between African universities, partnering with societies like Piaget societies to further unlock the skills of teachers to be able to provide this kind of education. We also believe that platforms should be made that connect policymakers and education researchers to work with educators to promote their expertise as researchers in the field, because they are the ones that are right there in the field. The third thing is that we also believe that this platform should connect the policies and the researches that are being done directly with the teachers in the classroom. We are hoping to create an African-wide network of critical explorers. This is the reason why we are requesting for the support of the Jean Piaget Society to support us in training and bringing together this network. And also we are requesting the support of individual researchers who might be interested in working with us over this long